Hello, everybody, and welcome to the digital download. It's Friday's little walk into the world of social and digital, where we share with you what we've learned and what our experiences, and we have a little debate and chat, and we welcome your comments and we welcome your opinions and questions, and so it's highly interactive, and we welcome all of that. We'll start off with some introductions. So the next the go around on as I can see people. So Adam.
Hi everybody. I'm Adam. I'm Tim's co-founder and business partner at DLA Ignite.
Cool. Brandon.
Hi everybody. I am Brandon Lee, and I'm in light of what we teach people, I think that dad jokes are the answer to everything. There's my introduction for today.
I think you're right. I think they are.
I had a good one this morning.
Are you going to tell us a dad joke? Have you got one lined up?
I can. I'll wait. I'll wait until the introductions are over.
Okay. Cool. Okay. And Eric.
Hi, I'm Eric, co-founder of Crux, partnered with DLA Ignite, and based here in Scotland.
And finally, in his sauna is Thomas.
On a cold winter day in Fergus Falls, Minnesota, it's good to be in a sauna.
I did suggest he was going to be sitting there in a towel or something like that to make it look better.
Shudder.
Turn that down, and you should all be grateful, by the way.
Yes, indeed. I'd like to hear a dad joke.
You got any dad jokes, Brandon?
I have a good one today. Somebody sent it to me. That's a fun part of my headline is everybody sends me dad jokes. I don't even have to go look for them anymore.
Cool.
But they did share with me that they were a VA. They were a virtual assistant for Forrest Gump, and they wanted to know if I knew his password. It's 1 Forrest 1.
Oh, I love it. Very, very good. How does the moon get his haircut?
How?
Eclipse it. My daughter told me that this morning.
What do pigs put on their sore bits?
What do pigs put on their sore bits? No idea.
Ointment.
No, of course they do. Of course they do. My goodness.
So if we did have anybody watching, they're not watching now.
Yeah, the numbers are just going down.
Yes, so you tuned into Friday's Comedy Hour.
which is going to be starting in half an hour.
Yes. Yeah, we're the unpaid warm-up.
So any other great things that we've seen going on so far this week?
I had a couple of lovely things happen this week. I've already put out a piece of content about this, but I just wanted to share it here for maybe people that haven't seen it. So the whole thing was about, we talk about strengthen proper networks. Many people will be able to, we'll all meet people who say, well, I've got 5,000 connections on LinkedIn, and I've got 3,500 on Twitter. And the point is, how many of those people have you converted into a meaningful, strong network of support, help, referral, information, and all of that? And in many cases, in most cases, the answer is certainly much smaller than the bigger number. And the whole idea is to convert more people into become meaningful network members. So for those of you who know, many of you will not, and that's cool. We run a LinkedIn live breakfast show called the Big Live Breakfast Burrito, and on that we've got lots of different guests. One week recently, we had 2 weeks straight actually, we had a guest poet, Claire Wilkins from Wales, a lovely person who came on and read out her own poetry, and we had a bit of fun doing that. And unbeknownst to me, Claire had gone away, and as a thank you, she'd researched a lot of my content, and without asking me to fill in any blanks, she created a poem, a unique piece of poetry out of things that she found that were going on in my life, like the fact that we were moving house, like the fact that I posted a picture in our Borotonian's group page of that when I was in the removal truck. I was being attacked by a plant. The plant was all over my head, but I had to sit there for like half an hour until she got my son's name out of content, and she wrote this poem. But she went kind of beyond that. She asked me for my address because she wanted to send me something nice through the post, and this arrived.
Do you even find your address online as well?
No, she asked me for that. She said, "Is it okay?" She never found my address online, but you probably could.
I'm joking.
You probably could. You probably could. So it's a poem called New Beginnings, and it's a bespoke, authentic, personalised Doyle family poem about moving house, which has got little lines in there about my wife and my son and some funny things that happened on the way. She framed it and she sent it, and just wanted to say thank you so much for letting me be on the show.
So name checker again, Claire
Wilkins.
Claire Wilkins.
Claire Wilkins in Cardiff area in Wales. An absolute delight to know. She's got a huge following herself, 20,000 plus followers to follow her poetry and all the radio work she does, because she's also a radio DJ. And she wrote this amazing poem. Do you want me to read it out?
Please.
Yes.
New beginnings. Oh God, where's my bins? New beginnings. Nothing ever stays the same. That's good to know. We look at things around us, our family, and how they grow. We took time out and we got together. We will stay in this home, Eric says, forever. No, said Sarah, new beginnings. That's what we need now. Yes, says Eric. Yes, said Austin. All pleased, they agreed. This home we've built, we've all outgrown. Plants in the garden with seeds we've sown. The weekend is here. Van packed in car. Eric's attacked by a plant, thankfully not going far. We pull up outside our home, smiles in our face. We'll make this our home, new beginnings, new place. Written by Claire Wilkins, October. That's beautiful, right? That's beautiful. And the whole origin of a social relationship built, a social bit of trust gained, and a little bit of transfer and interaction. I think that was just beautiful.
Very nice indeed.
Yeah, just thought I'd share that with you. I thought that was a lovely touch. There's actually been this has been the weekend of I would say the light side of network and the dark side of network.
Anybody got any else positive stories they want to share that has happened to them?
I had my first face-to-face business development meeting earlier today with a prospective client and prospective reseller.
First ever, or
first? Well, it feels that way. But first for the last 2 years, probably.
Right.
So that was lovely. Met on social via a social contact of ours who was a client of ours who has also engaged this company, and I felt like I already knew the guy. We'd engage, and because of my headline on LinkedIn, which says "Save Ferris," the network. So the diary invite said, "Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it." Which obviously is a quote from Ferris Bueller. So that was the diary invite that he sent, which I just thought was very nice.
Very nice.
As his name. So your it wasn't a handshake; it was a hug.
Indeed, as
Brian Fanzo said.
Yeah, turns the first meeting from a handshake into a hug.
But was the hug in a hazmat suit?
Yes, it was a virtual rather than a literal hug, obviously.
Yeah, big time. But
it is amazing, isn't it? How when you have engaged with somebody online and you feel that you've got to know them, when you turn up at that first meeting, they do feel like somebody you are familiar with, and you don't have to go through the same trust building exercise because the trust is already there. So you can just pitch straight in, and he just began by saying, "So, what would you like to tell us today, Adam?" And that was kind of the beginning of the meeting, and it was just really interesting that one would start in that way, because obviously he knew me, and I assume the others knew me as well. The power of social.
It's like you're already part of the team.
Yeah,
or like
absolutely.
part of the network anyway.
Yeah.
I think it's particularly powerful and sort of will never get old when you do have that initial meeting, when you've built a digital relationship and someone mentions or asks a question about something which you recently posted about.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's really cool. That's very cool. So how did that thing go?
I love that.
You know, how you getting on? How you getting on with that? Or you know, yeah, just terrific, beautiful, tying up the loops, just great.
Yeah, and you know, Eric, I mean, just to like explain that a little bit more, because I find, I don't know about you guys, but I find that things like we just said, we're like, oh yeah, that's really cool, and then I was in a training the other day, and they asked me a question, and I answered, and then they asked me to clarify, and it kind of went deeper, and it dawned on me that we've been doing this for so long, and it's very secondhand to us. When we say comments like that might be kind of flippant for us because we all look at each other and shake and go, oh yeah, and we shake our heads and move on. I mean, what Eric was explaining there is actually really, really powerful and really, really cool. It's if you take the offline analogy of, you know, you spoke at an event and there were 300 or 400 people in the room. And then a week later, 2 weeks later, you're somewhere else and someone goes, hey, I heard you speak at this place. And I thought it was really cool when you shared about this. You're like, okay, that's cool. But with social media, there's literally 750 million people on LinkedIn that when you say something, you share a social post, you write an article, you comment, you go on with a bunch of jokesters every Friday morning Eastern time and have a chat about digital stuff. It just amplifies everything that you do and opens up so many opportunities. And I mean, Eric, that was a great point, but I find that sometimes people that I'm training, they'll ask questions and it dawns on me, we take this for granted. And sometimes we gotta really go down to the details and foundation of what it really means. Sorry to jump in.
I think you're spot on. To many people who have had their head down, busy for a long time doing things, that whole concept of which we're comfortable is completely alien, and being very careful with that relationship and not just being clumsy with that and going, yeah, just stick up some content and connect with some people and have some conversations. It's a very careful, that needs to be nurtured. That needs to be nurtured and it needs to be tested and it needs to be confidence built. I think Brandon's absolutely spot on with that. I completely agree. We speak in a language, and we need to be very, very, because we're comfortable, we need to be very, very careful. And we are very careful with making sure that people come along at a pace that's suitable to them, that they can start to see this make sense and get comfort with it. Yeah, love it.
So I have a story to tell about that from this week. So this week, I spoke at a conference that would have taken place in Hong Kong. It was about the Asian use of social media. And you know, you don't know who you're talking to when you're running these events, because here we are, we don't know how big the audience is. There may be no one listening. There may be hundreds of people. And someone listened to what I said on the panel. They said it was really interesting. They went out and researched other things, and they found an interview that I'd done with Neil Schaefer on influencer marketing. And they shared it and said, I just watched this. Tim Hughes said this. I think it's really important. Da, da, da. Now, they were my third connection. So they weren't in my network, and they weren't even in my network's network. And then what they did was that they shared it and then they tagged me, so I saw it. But it's just kind of like the witchcraft of social media about how you can get your message and your influence out to so many people, and the way it scales. It never ceases to amaze me.
Yeah, and I would add to that the power of social media gives us the ability to be consciously aware of who we're talking to while we're actually talking to them. So we get to bring up their profiles and we get to bring up the information in the background about them, whether it's on LinkedIn or wherever else it might be. And we get to do in-depth learning about the people that we're working with, unlike any time that we've ever been able to do that before in history. And that makes such a difference. And when people leverage that, and we're all, you know, as Brandon so rightly said, we're so used to that. We don't even think about it. We just do it. But most people still don't. And that tool is so powerful and so right there for us to use. It's at your fingertips, that anybody can make use of it and be a much more powerful and strong influencer in their market or just among the people they want to know better.
Yeah. Good. That's that whole concept I've found that it's speaking very much to what Brandon said about being careful with all of this. That whole concept of influence, and some of the terminology that we would use. I mean, to many in the world, and I guess to me, not that long ago, the term influencer would have left a kind of dirty taste in my mouth, right? And I guess into a lot of people. So if we're sitting on a call or in a room with a bunch of C-suite execs, and we start talking about, so the idea here is that we're going to get you guys to the point where you are technical, commercial, operational, and sort of leadership influencers. You see, there's a kind of, like, whoa, hold on. We just basically called you in to tell us how to, do LinkedIn. But of course, it's much deeper than that, and getting people comfortable. So we'll backtrack that conversation and say there is an opportunity within your space, because we've done the assessment work, we've done the audit work for influencers to rise up and basically take ownership of all that digital chat and all that digital room and space. There's room for influencers, and actually we're at the stage now, whether we're in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, or 60s, we're actually being comfortable as professionals with the idea of being the lead influencer or one of the leading influencers in my sector and in my market is actually an ambition for all of us. And there's space for us generally, as we know, generally in most industries, there's space for someone to stand up as the technical, commercial, or operational influencer and get all the credit that comes with that. So getting people to, instead of wincing away from the idea of being an influencer, well, why do I want to be an influencer on social media? I'm the MD or the CEO of a company. Actually, it plays into that whole, not only you're responsible for driving a bottom line result for your organization, you're actually in charge of a media company, and you are the chief influencer. You are the chief influencer, and if you grab that rope, watch what happens. My goodness me.
And that's for thinking about that commercially. What does that mean for business? It means you're owning the digital space in your particular vertical, or you're selling a particular product, so you own the digital space for that particular product or service. And that's something that we've always wanted ever since the days when we used to send out letters to people. We've always wanted to own the media space, own what's going on and what's being talked about.
Yeah, I think that. I'd love to hear your guys' thought on this. I was on a conversation with a prospective customer this week, and I used the term around digitally dominating the airspace, right? Digitally dominating the news feed. And I'm glad I was on Zoom, because I kind of saw this like quizzical type look. And I just paused everything and I said, what did you think of when I said that term? And he said, honestly, I don't really know. And that was a big awareness for me, because it comes back to, my big awareness, my big aha for this week has been that a lot of the words that I use, a lot of the phrases that I say, and a lot of the tactics that I refer to and strategies I refer to when it comes to digital and digital communication, I just don't think a lot of our audience really gets and understands what we mean. And I don't mean that to be condescending. I just mean it from a point of view or a clarity sake. And so what I shared was, well, let's imagine you're it's the night before a big conference in your industry. And, let's pretend there's the big cocktail party, and you walk into this room and you look around and you go, wow, it's just filled with all my customers and all my ideal customers, all my prospective customers. And you get really excited, but then you look up and every single one of your customers is having a conversation and laughing and pals with someone next to them. And that's either going to be one of your teammates or it's going to be one of your competitors' teammates. And whoever that is, yours or theirs, they're the ones that digitally dominate the airwaves. And there was this aha moment, and the conversation was able to progress. And again, I don't mean it to be condescending. I just realized a lot of the terms that I've used and the things that we've done for so long are still not totally translating, and we've got to be careful that we're not missing our customers through the language that we use.
And the fact that it's natural for us. And it's natural for the people that have been doing it for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. But if you're new to it, the idea of being, in quotes, famous is quite scary because, like you said, I think, Tim, Kim Kardashian is famous. I'm not Kim Kardashian, I'm an industry expert. I don't want to be famous like that. But actually, you do want to be famous like that, just not for the same things she's famous for. Right. If you had her degree of media reach in the markets where you wanted to be known in the same way she does in her market, you would be the go-to person for every conference, for every prospect, that everybody would come to you, but they don't because you're not using the channels in the way that she does. And there's that lovely story about Kylie Jenner when she said about Snapchat, when they put the new interface up, and she said, I'm so over Snapchat. And it knocked over $1 billion off the market capitalization of the business in a day, just because she shared her opinion about it. Now, if that opinion was by you in your industry and it had that much sway, the last thing you would be worrying about is where your next deal was going to be coming from. But like her, you only get that that position in the marketplace by working it, don't you?
Yeah.
And I think it really begs a point that we need to address. And Brandon, you were doing that, you as well, Tim, or I'm sorry, Adam. But that is that social media to us and how we use it is habitual. It's a behavior. It's something that we've gotten used to and we use on a regular basis. And it's just the same as we would have used any other tools back 5-10 years ago. But in the B2B business world, it's not. It just isn't. Right. It's not there yet, and they're not doing this. And for those that are, they get the opportunity, as Brandon said so rightly, and you've said so many times, Eric, and that is digital dominance. Right? You get the opportunity to own your market and your airspace and your vertical and your topic. You get the opportunity to do that today, but you won't have that opportunity 2, 3, 4 years from now, because everybody will, in fact, be learning to do this and get to the point where your voice will be drowned out by many, many others. Today on LinkedIn, it's estimated that 2 to 3% of the people on LinkedIn are creating and adding content. Well, what does that say? Right? And what is that percentage on some of the other social media challenges or stations, as well as other areas of digital media? So the fact is, very few people and very few organizations are as yet really contributing information and value-oriented content. And I'm not talking about the propaganda and the corporate ads and all of that garbage. I'm talking about actually contributing interesting information that helps people better understand what they might do with you and your company and the industry and better suit their needs as they go through that buyer's journey. And that's what people aren't doing yet. So the fact is, we're so used to it because we're doing it, but most companies still aren't. So what a great set of point. We need to help them get there and help them understand. It's not that it's easy, because it's not, but it is a set of lessons and behaviors that we can all learn very easily and readily.
Well,
how
Tim,
many?
Just pop Robert's comment up again.
Yeah.
I think we could rephrase this to say the question becomes, are you more comfortable with doing what you've always done and going out of business, or transforming and staying in business? Because that's the choice now. It's pretty binary.
It is.
What we know is that the stuff that you used to do doesn't work. So we know that if you create a communications campaign based around buying space and hammering your message in people, it doesn't work the way it used to work. You may still get sales, but the sales will be massively reduced from what they would have been maybe a decade ago,
and far more expensive.
Yeah,
exactly.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's like, are you going to continue to do that stuff, hoping that things are going to get better, or are you going to acknowledge that things have changed and you need to change as well? And that's the choice that businesses have to make.
Yeah, and I think it takes that awareness or that willingness to look in the mirror and what Robert is referencing there, and to take a look at what those advertising numbers look like now. And it is, I mean, it's, the marketing side, the demand gen side, whatever term we want to use for that. Tim will tell everybody now that the new term is RevOps, but they were used to having things like a spigot, and those were great days, right? For every $10,000 we put in, we were kicking out $50,000 in sales. Great. Those days just don't look like that anymore. Number one, I think what I see, there's inconsistency from one campaign to the next of what the ROI is. So it's no longer a faucet or a spigot that you turn on and off. And then the other element is, if it was 10,000 to make 50, it's now 20,000 to make 40. And it's been trending that way. And if you're sitting there going, oh, but we're still doing fine, is the trend going to keep going? Because if it does, you're going to quickly, 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, 18 months, whatever, you're going to look up and go, dang, we spent 40 to make 40.
And there's a point where you've got to make the switch.
No.
Spent 40 to make 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, even worse.
Yeah, and the problem with the switch isn't a tap that you can turn the other way in order to do that. The problem with the switch is you've got to change behaviors. Right? And changing behaviors is about the toughest thing anybody can do. And having a LinkedIn guru come in or some 2-day training program, or rah-rah sessions, as I call them, isn't going to get you there.
No. You know, I have a question for this group.
Yeah.
How many conversations did each of you have this week with a prospective customer that came to you and said, hey, we've got a challenge internally. Can we talk about it? How many inbound leads like that did you have this week? Yeah.
I got 2.
Yeah.
2.
I got one.
I got one.
Grown up people with salt and pepper hair at the side saying things aren't working the way they did. Can we have a chat?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I appreciate that, but I honestly don't even care what they say. I just care that they're saying it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, one of mine this week was a text message from somebody that I knew casually, personally, and said, hey, I've been paying attention to what you've been posting. We have a problem in my company. I think you might be able to help. Can we schedule a call, or can I buy you lunch? Right. And what does that mean when you break it down? It means my social voice is going out this way. With somebody that I casually see here and there around town, I didn't even know they were paying attention to my voice on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram.
But they're also not getting in touch because their pipeline's off the charts and they've already got 2022 booked. If they're listening to you, they're tuning into the fact that you have a different view on maybe a traditional world, and you've got insight into devices and mechanisms that can change things. There's no company calling you to talk about social selling and influence that's got 2022 and half of 2023 already booked, and they're hiring out the wahoo, and only by using traditional methods of cold calling and emailing and advertising. The connection's been made because you are potentially providing solutions to a problem that they have.
Yeah,
I have yet to hear on the grapevine of any company that falls into that category that you just described, Eric.
Yeah,
there's no company putting their hand up saying, for God's sake, turn off the phone. We don't want any more prospects phoning us up. We're not interested. We can't. No, nobody's saying that. 20 years ago, actually, people were saying that. People were saying we cannot cope with the amount of inbound that we've got. Now people are not saying that.
I know of a couple that are like that.
I do.
And it's because they've adjusted, and for the last year they've been absolutely killing it on social media. Genuinely.
No, what I meant was from traditional methods.
Yeah, I know that. I'm just being cheeky.
Clearly, we do know. We do know a fair few people that are saying, actually, we don't want any more opportunities. What we need to be able to do is handle the opportunities we've got. We do know some people
Indeed.
like that now. But from outside of that immediate, that crux of organizations that are people that are using social effectively, outside of that, people are shoveling money into a pit, aren't they, to try to start to get some traction and begin some conversations. They've got salespeople. So Tim and I were on a call the other day, and one of the salespeople on the call got a bit shirty, and he said, "There's loads of people in this organization that have got little or no pipeline," and he said, "I know for one, marketing have not given me. They've given me 4 leads in the last 3 years, and all of those were garbage." He said, because he was American, and that's a repeating pattern. You know, the thing is that it's not like it used to be. You know, 20 years ago, marketing would give you a name and they'd say, "This person is waiting by the phone for you to call," and you would basically phone up and take their order.
So Brandon, what is it that you're doing that you think that you're doing to get people coming to you saying, "I've got a problem, can you solve it?" Because classically, the whole classic thing about sales is that sales basically is outbound. Right. And what we do is that we go out and we knock on doors and we say, are you interested in our brushes?
Right.
And this whole thing where it turns around and says, okay, we're actually getting people coming to us, actually is often presented in by cold calling experts as being unsales or
right.
for inbound is inbound. You know, I've seen people write that anybody who talks about inbound is a charlatan. and
right.
and so here we are, 5 people here who are saying that we're all getting inbound. So what are you doing that's different from the people that are having to make outbound, where you can actually sit with your feet up in the office and get people to ring you? I'm being facetious.
Yeah, there's no feed on office. I can't create content that way. You know, I think that's a great question, Tim, and I think that so much of the conversation becomes semantics of what's outbound, what's inbound, what's this. Hey, I do activities on a daily basis that creates conversations that lead to sales conversations, and some of those close and we make money. I mean, that's it. And those new behaviors that I do are a lot less expensive than the behaviors I used to do. You know, in
when you say expenses, is that expensive in money or time or
all the above? So I look back at one of my companies where we had a $150,000 a month direct mail budget and 16 people on the phones doing outbound and inbound calls supporting that email and direct mail budget. And it was great at the time. We didn't really have many other options. And it worked. But I look at it now and, I'm not doing the same equivalent dollar numbers that I did back then, but we also have a much smaller team. But we're not spending $150,000 a month in direct mail and sending out thousands and thousands of emails and making thousands and thousands of phone calls. But what it looks like now is 3 activities that we do on a regular basis, and they're very strategic. And I think that's the thing that people need to hear. It's that they're strategic. We're not just posting stuff. And I think Lenwood said it earlier in here about being intentional about the content that you create. It's also about intentional with who and when you're trying to send connection requests to people. And it's intentional about who and how you're engaging with people. So those 3 core activities, instead of this and emails and direct mail, is, well, we share content, and it's 2 types of content. It's content and it's thought leadership content, because a lot of, as we all know, some of the best content that I create, and I've got a great story from this week about it, is where we share about who we are, not just what we do. And then we engage with other people, right? In social media, we can go where they are and have a conversation with them. It's called comment and like and join those conversations. And it's no different than if I'm at a conference and I'm walking down an aisle and I eye somebody that I really want to meet. And I kind of, you guys, we've all done that awkward, like, how do I go introduce, oh, they're talking to somebody. How do I introduce myself? How do I join that conversation? And then, next thing you know, they're, oh, I got to get going. I got to go. And they leave. And you're like, gosh, I missed my opportunity. Well, that doesn't happen in social media because it's right here. So when you go and engage with them, it's that opportunity to introduce yourself, to have a conversation, to share, to ask them questions.
So
and then the last one.
So you were coaching someone this week, weren't you? And they told you a story about how they got meetings, which wasn't about posting brochures, was it? It was about something else. Can you share that?
Yeah, and without, because we looked at the brochure post that they had posted previously, and there was, we looked at 7, and there was a total of about 950 views, about 12 likes, and no comments over 7 brochure type posts. And then there was the first post that was non-brochure type, and it was like 4,000 views. It had 30 some likes and like 15, I think, ish comments. I don't remember my exact numbers there. But then subsequently, 2-3 posts later, it was somebody liked the post who was a part of a customer, an account that went dead. It went silent, and it couldn't figure out, how to revive it for months. And he just thought, well, it just died. And one of the persons from the team had liked his post, and he sent him a message and said, "Hey, thanks for liking my post. I appreciate it." And they responded, "Oh, it was about them riding bikes in France in the mountains." He said, "Oh yeah, I didn't know you were a biker too." And it kind of went back and forth. And he said, "Can we get, would you like to get a virtual coffee?" And they said yes. And then the conversation went really quickly. Like, I'm not sure why we dropped that. Let's have a conversation about it. And a week later, it was a $2.1 million contract being sent out and requested. And it was picked back up just by being a human being on social media, not pounding the phone.
So we've had a great question here from Helen, which I think is a great, is it that people in sales and marketing find digital easier, and the rest of the people in the organization don't?
Well, the fact is we don't normally sell to sales and marketing. The top line, because you're selling to sales and marketing, is certainly from my experience not our target disciplines, and not who we generally engage with. We may come across sales and marketing people in the process, but we're generally speaking to the leadership team and selling into the leadership team, because we don't sell a sales and marketing fix. We're selling a business transformation, right? And that business transformation is across every discipline and subset and group and department and function within the organization. It also happens to include sales and marketing. It happens to be very effective there, but we don't sell exclusively to sales and marketing. We're actually selling a much higher level business transformation program.
I think our clients, I don't think in all the time that since Tim and I started the business, I don't think we've ever sold to people that are selling to sales and marketing. So we have trained companies that sell at a strategic level. Mm-hmm. So whether or not that was our first proper client that was a business information and market information company, we've worked with people like that, with software companies, with telcos, with a whole range across multiple different industries. And none of them have sold solutions to sales and marketing. All of them have sold solutions to the business. And this is just, as Brandon said, it's about having conversations with those people within the business. And you're susceptible to a love of guitar music, whether or not you're in sales or in procurement or in finance or in human resources or any department.
A love of saunas.
A love of saunas.
I love a good sauna.
Apparently I do too.
Is it just cold, or is it snowing as well?
It's all of the above.
You've got 2 inches, haven't you, Thomas?
I think we're probably beyond that at this point. Yes.
Did you go out and roll about in the snow like the Swedes?
I really didn't, and it's not on the agenda. I'm going to be honest.
Whipping yourself.
Hey, can I, bring up another conversation point? Can I transition us? So yeah. Thomas and I were on a call this week, and one of the persons on the call was an analyst. And Thomas, if you want to jump in at any point too. I think this is part of the challenge, and I want to say problem, but I'm going to say challenge, is that the analyst, and, nothing against him. He's an analyst. This is his job. But from the beginning of the conversation, he wanted to put funnel amplified in a box, right? He kept saying, tell me, what does your technology do? And I told him straight up, I said, I'm not going to tell you that right now because we're going to have a conversation. And he was so frustrated throughout the conversation because I wouldn't just say what we did as a technology. And the reason is, this is about behavior change. And our technology is designed to lead people through the behavior change, but it's not going to do it on its own. That's where training and coaching comes in. It's that two-touch process. And without it, it's not going to work. But all the analyst wanted to do was put us into a technology box so he could go, oh, well, you're like this one and this one and this one. Or say, oh, well, it doesn't work because of this. Or, oh, that's different than what's out there. Maybe it'll work. It was such a frustrating conversation for the analyst because we didn't, bite the bait and go along with the conversation. And I think that's part of the challenge, even as we talk to whether it's RevOps teams or sales or marketing or demand gen, is companies have been so conditioned to put tools into buckets. And one of the things that, Tim, you were just saying, I think is really, really key, is so often marketing departments are tasked with purchasing either technology, easy buttons, or training in some sort of a sales enablement capacity for salespeople. And they don't understand the difference between blasting messages and starting conversations. They never have. That's not marketing's job. That's sales' job. But yet they're the ones making decisions because they've controlled the purse strings on what tools or what training we bring to salespeople to help them start conversations. What do y'all think of that? Or Thomas, you have anything to add?
Yeah, sure. So I guess what I would add to that is that, and we've talked about it in different ways throughout this conversation so far, so maybe I can bring it to a bit of a head, in that the missing point in this is not our process or the behaviors that we think, leadership and sales or marketing or any part of the team should do, but rather their lack of understanding of the change in behaviors that's occurred with their customers. This is all about the people you want to work with and you want to communicate with. And the reason we're telling you that you need to change your behaviors and how you do that is because they already did it. And they did it a while ago, right? And 60 and 70 and 80% of their former behavior in terms of buying or looking at different solutions for their needs is now done online. Whereas before that wasn't the case. And whereas before your paid advertising and all the other things that you used to do so effectively worked because their behavior was lined up with that process. Today, they don't do that. Today, they're looking for information. They're looking for communication. They're looking for ideas. They're looking for leaders. They're looking for people who know what they're talking about, and they can go and find them right now on YouTube, right now on LinkedIn, right now on Google and everywhere. And that's what leaders need to understand. And oh, by the way, if I Google you, Mr. Leader or Mrs. Leader, I don't find you. Well, guess what? If I don't find you, either do your customers. And until and or if they do, the rest of this conversation is moot because you still don't get it. Now,
but don't a lot of companies, don't they think they're doing this? So it's like, the first thing, as you said there, Thomas, it's about thinking about this from your customer's perspective. We've thought about this from the customer's perspective. So we've done a journey mapping exercise for the buyer journey. So we understand exactly where we need to put a brochure in front of our customers to make them buy our product. No. Journey mapping is about your sales process, not about their buying process. It's not about putting yourself in their shoes. And I genuinely believe that most organizations are so wrapped up in this, this company pays my mortgage, therefore it's a really important company, therefore I'm passionate about it. Why wouldn't you be passionate about it as well? Well, because it's not the company that pays your mortgage. And until people get out of that mindset and really ruthlessly think in the other person's shoes, put themselves in those shoes, then they can't possibly begin to understand what helpful information looks like. Helpful information, I've sent you product details, that's helpful. No, it isn't. It's never helpful. But Tim and I work for a company that just produced so much stuff, even for the products that we sold, that we never get a chance to read it all, because it was just mountains of the stuff. But it's really helpful stuff. No, it isn't. Sending somebody a product manual is only helpful if they've already bought the product and they're stuck. But it's this difference of opinion, isn't it? I haven't got time to read your marketing material, but you will have time to read mine. And until you realize that there's some sort of reciprocity in this, there's no chance of these people ever being able to comprehend the change they need to make, really, I think.
And that's the point. Yeah. Absolutely, Adam.
I had a conversation.
Go on, Brendan. I was going to just ask you a question.
I was going to say, I had a conversation with someone this week who she's a sales coach. And her approach was, I teach salespeople how to sell by not selling. And she doesn't do anything really with social, but just that was her whole approach. And we met and we had a little brief conversation. And I said, so tell me, what do you mean by teaching salespeople how to sell by not selling? And she trained a lot of people in like wine sales and like more face-to-face stuff. And I said, well, it's quite simple. When you walk into a wine shop, pulling your luggage full of wine, it implies, hey, we're going to taste wine and you're going to make a buying decision. But when you walk in just with you and you go, hey, how you doing? The shop looks great. And you start having a conversation. Then eventually, and not very long down the road, they say, well, what do you have new today for me to take a look at? And she goes, it's just little simple things like that if you don't look like a salesperson, then people seem to more, and obviously you're not just wasting your time or being thoughtless with your time. Then people like buying from you, and they buy more from you.
It's a bit like, so today, this week, I had someone come to me because I'd spoken, and so what they thought they'd do is send me a connection request and immediately pitch. And
they obviously listened intently to what
obviously,
you spoke about.
Yeah, I obviously wasted my time. And it was the usual, maybe there's some synergies, which basically means I want to sell you my shit.
Yes.
And it was like, all that did was just you go, oh, that's horrible. And he said, do you want to buy my stuff? I just went, no, because it's a natural reaction that when someone pitches to you, that you just say no. And it's like, why are you in sales? Are you doing something where the person on the other side has a natural reaction to say no? I thought the whole point of sales hasn't someone written a book saying, sales is the whole point of sales is getting to yes or something like that. And it's like, why are you doing stuff that just where people's reaction, natural psychological reaction, is just to say no to you?
I got an answer for that.
Good.
Companies don't train people how to sell.
They don't.
I had a conversation with someone yesterday that said, hey, we've got this, this company. It was actually one of my customers telling me, hey, I've got a company I want to introduce you to. And I said, well, tell me about the CEO, da, 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 da. Oh, and they just hired these 4 salespeople and they're really not producing anything at all. And she's like, I don't want to fire them because I need people, but I don't know what to do. And that's the first question. I said, well, what did they do for training? And he said, they just handed him a book. It wasn't even a training book. It was just, they hand him like, here's all the people in your territory. Well, what do you expect? Like, people don't. I mean, how many people out there have actually gone through a sales training course? And was it in the last decade? Most people just don't get taught how to sell. And so their natural tendency is to do what happened to you, Tim.
Yeah.
They think they're being, they think, I believe they think that they're being more social by saying, hey, would you like to discuss, see if there's any synergies? But it's still just a weak sales tactic to interrupt and get someone's attention.
Yeah. And they've probably read some article somewhere, and you shouldn't be selling or something. But immediately they do. I mean, we had a client. There's a client of ours that the salesperson said, I've sent loads of connection requests and got none back. And we said, so what are you sending it? And what she said was, I'm your account manager, and you're already customers of ours. And I'd like to connect to you on LinkedIn and have a relationship with you. Now, what does the reader read of that?
You're going to try and sell me more stuff.
Are you going to try and sell me more shit? Yeah. Helen's got a point here. Would a different response be something constructive like, I'm not sure pitching to me on the first message is the best way to get me to buy?
Yeah, I don't have time
for
that.
The polite way. You could just tell them to off.
You know, I had an interesting one this past week too. It was an interesting connection request, and I can't remember a message. It was a first connection. I have no idea who it is. And the message was kind of intriguing, and I went, what does exactly that mean? So I kind of scrolled up in the messages, and I saw that in 2018, he had me in a cadence. It was like July 16th, July 18th, July 20th, July 23rd, then the breakup email, the breakup message, right? Oh, obviously and I think it was like, oh, obviously your sales are at their peak performance and you don't need any help with.
You're obviously under a rock, or that there's a number that go around that that they send out that they think that people think of amusing that go out in templates.
Yeah. So it was 2018, and then another sequence in 2020, all of which I ignored. And then this one actually kind of caught my attention enough to make me look at it. And I realized, oh, they're just trying new versions, new messages in the same type of sequencing to see if they can get. And it reminds me of a person I spoke to a few weeks ago that just said, I said, well, I just don't find that much value in sending out cold emails anymore. It's like, oh, it's all in the subject line. I just went, it's all in the subject line. Oh yeah, you have to have the right subject line to get. He's like, and I'm killing it just based on the right subject line. And I just, I've learned this from Adam. I think to say, really? No, you're not.
No, you're not.
No, you're not.
Did I share with you the guy that connected with me? Seemed like a genuine guy down in London. Seemed like a genuine guy. Hi Eric, I saw your thing. Blah blah blah. I'd like to connect. I connected. Boom, and then I get the immediate of stuff, and it's like, jeepers. So I sent him a nice note back. Dear such and such. This is pretty uncool. What's just happened here? We haven't even got to know each other yet, and already we're into pricing. I've got a price list. And availability and scheduling, and it's like the screeds and screeds and screeds of text. So I sent this note back, and there was a pause and a delay because clearly this was automated. And I've still got it. I wrote a blog about it at the time last year. This happened in 2020, and he came back and he went, "I'm not interested, mate. I'd send out thousands of these in a day, and I get a couple of people that nibble them, and I make a good living from it. If you want a friend, buy a dog." If you want a friend, buy a dog. I didn't know where to go. I actually went, okay. All right. Block.
Yeah. And you know what I think with that stuff, besides being extremely funny, is if that guy's feels good about what he's doing and makes his living and gets 2 responses out of thousands.
Brandon.
What's that?
Doesn't feel anything at all.
No. Yeah, well, exactly. Well, it's all about him, right? I don't really care what I do to other people. I just want to make my money. And the challenge with that is, you're going to look up in 6 months or a year, and it's just not going to work anymore.
No. Yeah, you'll have poisoned so many people against what you're all about. You've not built any relationships. You might have got a whiz bang, couple of $100 for what you were trying to do. Not sustainable. It's not a sustainable platform for growth. But at the end of the day, but the classic line. I mean, I cut and paste it before I actually blocked that individual because I thought I don't need to. I know that we'll never ever get on. We'll never do business. We'll never be friends.
Eric, I don't care. Just get a dog, mate.
Just get a dog. Just get a dog. Yeah. If you want a friend, get a dog.
Seth Godin wrote about it recently, about how he gets attacked by these things, and he said, a 98% failure rate on these things means you've just pissed 98 people of 100 off. And it's great that you may have made 2 sales, but you have pissed off 98 people in your network.
There you go. Devastation left behind you for those 1-2 little grains of salt that you have there.
Yeah, the only difference I would say on that is, I don't know if you pissed off 98 people, because most people didn't even pay attention or will remember it.
Maybe.
But all of this kind of speaks to and brings to fruition what you were saying earlier, Brandon, with respect to the friendly analyst, and that was that people tend and try to pigeonhole this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they try and find the dynamic that they think is the algorithm of success. Well, if I hit 100 people with this little message, one of them is going to certainly respond, and that's all I need. I just need to hit another 100 people tomorrow and the next day, and then I can pigeonhole and I can create this little process that's going to get the results. But what they misunderstand or they don't understand is those are actual people, and this is really a people thing. And social is all about people, and it doesn't matter if it's Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn or YouTube or any of the and all of the above. The fact is, those are all people, and people who learn how to talk to and communicate and create networks and messaging and be helpful to people do really well with, guess what? People. Right.
But this comes back to
the mic drop moment. It just leaves it every week. He leaves it right to the last few minutes.
But you shared a post with us on Slack yesterday, Eric, that someone in your network had posted, and somebody that was a data analyst that had commented on that had said, yeah, all of these personal posts, complete waste of time. I would rather be engaging with people, or I would, and I'm paraphrasing here, I would take more seriously people that had seriously thought about the profile of the people that they wanted to sell to and had engaged with those people about something. It's like, no, you wouldn't. That's what you would like to do from your perspective of the poster and the seller. It's the last thing you want to be the recipient of that. Because when I'm talking to you, Eric, you want to be Eric. You don't want to be persona number 27. And it's like this person couldn't understand that their perspective as the seller. And it was just a great thing that you shared with us, that they.
Yeah, but the fact is, we are probably the wrong, well, certainly I am the wrong person to. I worked with the most amazing marketing analysts and data analysts in my life. I had them in my teams before. I don't want my market analysts getting involved with people to people because they're brilliant with data. That's what they do. They suck up all sorts of facets of data, and they survey markets, and they utilize statistical software and survey consumers and do all of that. And they squeeze it all down and pop it all out. There's the answer. That's what you want to do. And then they go back and do that again. They're never going to get this human to human interface. They're never going to get this. That's not what they're specialists at. So this guy was coming at it from, it's all about numbers and data and crunching and not about personalities. When actually he's got a very different set of requirements from social. He's looking to be educated and looking to put out stuff to show how clever he is. He's not interested in commercial success or making and building relationships. He's not interested in that. So we were at odds, and we're always going to be at odds with data analysts because, yeah, we're in the business of putting people in touch with people to improve their situation, right?
Well, I might argue that in that there are numbers in that, right? And there are analytics in that. And there are KPIs to that. So
there are, but oddly, Tim and I had an engaged. So somebody that we're coaching as part of a program, somebody that would view themselves as a competitor of ours, had messaged this person saying, "I've done a review of your profile, and here's what's wrong with your profile." So some of the comments were, "I don't really understand what it is you do. Oh, I really like the fact that you were a musician and that you do this and that you do, but I don't understand what you do," which kind of put himself at odds there. And then the photo of this person, she was looking up like this in the profile. No, you need to look straight ahead in the profile shot because research shows that people are more engaged by people looking. And she messaged us saying, I thought I'd done a really great job on my profile. And I feel a bit deflated because this person has basically given me all of these tips. And we went back and said, what they've given you is an opinion based on nothing at all. So you started the program with us, and the number of views on your profile have gone up almost by a factor of 10 since you started on the program. And you've recently done a post that's had 350 likes on it and has been seen by 35,000 people. This person, looking back over all of their content over the last year, they've not done a single thing which has had more than 20 likes on it. So they're not the person to be handing you advice because you're already doing it better than them. But the point is that the data that this person was sharing was that research shows that if you look straight ahead at the camera and that's your profile shot, it'll be more engaging for people. And clearly that, amongst many of the other things, simply wasn't the case, because the proof of the pudding is in the eating. You know, you can measure those little things. Research shows that this is what you need to do, but actually the bit you need to measure is the phone ringing more? Are you selling stuff?
So I've been measured. I've been sent a message on Slack internally, and I understand that when I said to Thomas about his love of saunas, that the message, the transcript on the bottom of the video actually said that Thomas had a love of soreness, not a love of saunas. Soreness, yes.
Oh dear.
I just thought I'd finish on that.
I'm just so glad we're out of time, because
well, everyone would have put the phone down and they've all moved on, so they won't have had that.
Where that conversation was going was not pretty.
So thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and the comments. Thank you to Helen. Thank you to Robert, Natalie, Lenwood, Nick. I think I've got Eric. Thanks for all of the conversations. It's without the audience and without the comments and the questions that are coming in, it really makes it. So we're here next week. Thank you.
Have a great week,
Thomas, Eric, and hopefully Lenwood's back next week.
Bye bye.
See you guys.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.